Talking with the experts.
In episode 373, Troy Schlicker discusses with us what we should be looking for when sourcing a real estate broker. So what makes a good broker? I mean, what would the normal person look for in a broker?
Yeah, I mean, I always recommend people should. So, I mean, obviously, you want to somewhat test their knowledge. Like you can find kind of lists of questions of things that they should know about the area that you're looking for. Have they done business in the area that you're looking at? How many years have they been in business? How many deals have they done? Real estate is not a difficult business to get into, but it also has a high burnout rate because a lot of people who get into it, just like small businesses, it's not hard to start a small business, but to be successful in a small business is a lot more challenging. And so kind of doing some of your research as far as, the expertise of the broker, of the agent, but then also finding a few of them and then actually interviewing them or going to lunch with them, having coffee.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Today my guest is Troy Schlicker, Troy Schlicker, and we're going to be just talking about business in general, nothing specific. Troy is an estate broker and has owned his business for 10 years, and he is the host of the Austin Spotlight podcast. In his free time, he enjoys staying active, playing sports. Welcome, Troy, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what made you go into the real estate business?
I've always been good with numbers, finance, things of that nature. And so prior to actually getting my real estate license, I was on the mortgage side of things. So I was helping people usually buy a home in that capacity. And so it was kind of a natural transition over to helping them as a real estate agent and now a real estate broker to help them kind of buy a home, sell a home, provide advice around those kind of things as well too.
So what's the housing market like?
Housing situation? Yeah. It's definitely slowed down quite a bit, right? So just the two main things have been the rise of interest rates. So that's kind of given people pause. One, most people aren't used to seeing interest rates above 6%. It's been a long time. It's been over a decade since we've really had to deal with that. And so just that kind of sticker shock is one component to it. On top of it, obviously, higher interest rates mean higher monthly payments for people. And so with home prices having already increased a lot over the last 2 years, even though there's maybe been a slight dip in home prices, they definitely haven't, and I don't think they will come crashing down at all. So that higher home prices plus that higher interest rate means that it's harder for people to qualify. On top of that, you add in the uncertainty going on in the entire world and here in the US as well regarding job layoffs and higher prices on everything else, from gas prices to utility prices, food prices, and everything. And so it's definitely had an impact on the amount of homes being sold, how quickly homes, when they do hit the market, how quickly they end up being sold. So it's definitely had an impact. But in a lot of ways, some of the stuff is good to a degree. Obviously, we don't love people losing jobs if stuff like that's happening. But the past 24 months in the real estate market was, one, it wasn't sustainable. And two, it's really honestly not super healthy, right? Like it doesn't actually allow people in most cases to, a lot of times to find a home. I had a lot of clients who never bought because they kept missing out on multiple offer situations, and then home prices started to get too expensive. So as nice as it was just in some regards, right? Like you owned a home, your home's worth a lot more than it was 2 years ago. I'm okay with it's good that we're getting back to a market that is going to grow hopefully a little bit more sustainably.
Yeah, here in Australia, I think the interest rates are about 4% for at the moment. Inflation's over 5 or 6% at the moment. I can't remember. Housing prices went up through the roof here too, really, really quickly, and it's really difficult now for first home buyers to get into their first home, even with the government grants and incentives and things, because you just can't save that money anymore.
Yeah, like I say, home prices definitely outpaced wage growth over the last 2 years by a substantial amount, right? So for a lot of people, if they, even if they had a good job, your income levels were not increasing by 30% a year in a lot of cases, but your home prices were, and so that makes it harder and harder for people like that to get into a home. I also do think, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, one, even if you're not a first-time home buyer, there's a lot of stress that is involved with buying or selling a home, whether you've done it 5 or 6 times or it's your first time. And so that's always a big thing regardless. But a lot of times for first-time home buyers, usually that monthly payment is a little bit of a stretch. Not that it's something that they can't make, but like it's usually less expensive to rent. And so sometimes it's hard to mentally get around the stumbling block of, shoot, if I buy a home, it's going to be 20% more than if I rented a home for my monthly payment. But in the long term, it's almost always a good thing. Like the average net worth of homeowners is drastically more than for people who don't own homes. Like it really is a good thing long term, but it can still be a tricky hurdle in more normal markets, let alone the last couple of years.
Absolutely, yeah. I know my kids are finding it a real challenge at the moment. I mean, and they've all got jobs, and they're fairly good paying jobs, not megally rich, but they're still able to look after themselves. But they're finding it just saving that little bit of extra now with the price of everything else going up. Just to put that extra few dollars aside every paycheck is it's becoming quite a challenge.
Yeah. Well, and I find that for a lot of people, right, like my parents, like buying a home, like you sacrificed to buy a home, you sacrificed to save money for the down payment and stuff. And we've been fortunate for the last 20 plus years that in a lot of cases you haven't had to sacrifice a whole lot to make that happen. But again, for a lot of especially first-time home buyers, you're finding out that you may have to make some of those sacrifices, right? You may have to cut out on some of the travel and some of the going out to eat and some of the discretionary purchases to make that happen. And so not that it's good that we're going back to there. It would be nice if people could still kind of have their cake and eat it too. But I do feel like that a lot of people, regardless of age, but it's hard to get, like, a luxury once obtained now becomes a necessity. And so it's hard for people to give up some of the things that we've been able to do over the last, 10 plus years when interest rates have been super low. And so that house payment was a lot easier, and we could still then go on trips and do all these other things. It's hard to give those things up that we've become accustomed to in order to buy a home.
Yeah, it's a real shame, but I think that the world's already had to slow down for 2 years. I suppose another 2 or 3 years of slow growth is, it's got to be a benefit, I think. I mean, I know there's a lot of money going around, but I mean, retail spending is high even now. It's strange with the way the economy is. You would think that people would be slowing down their spending, but they're not.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much. Like I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at retail numbers. I know obviously that now that it's fourth quarter, this is the prime time for retail spending with Thanksgiving and Christmas right around the corner and all that, Black Friday and all those kind of things. So it will be interesting to see how the current economic situation affects people in that regard. Like, does it, are sales of Christmas goods and merchandise and all those kind of things, have they slowed down? Will they slow down because of everything that's going on, or will it not be quite so much? And obviously, you're in Australia, I'm here in the US, so things definitely are somewhat regional. I think in Europe, there's things that are even more challenging than they are in some other parts of the world, from an economic standpoint, with utility stuff and heating homes and all those kind of things. And so it just makes it a challenge. But especially as a realtor, all real estate's local. So when it comes to those types of things, what's impacting even one city or one state, let alone one country, can definitely be different from other countries.
Oh, that's very true. So, what advice would you give to someone that was looking to get into the housing market? I mean, I know you alluded to giving up some of those little extras that, we've become accustomed to, but what other things could they be looking at?
I mean, one of the biggest things, like, everyone nowadays starts their home search or their knowledge search, whether it's for real estate or small business or anything, you start it online because it's so easy to start getting some information. And it's a phenomenal, obviously the internet and being online is phenomenal technology. You can get a lot of great information, but I would recommend trying to reach out to a local expert in your area because they may know of things that can help you either plan that out, whether it be, so for example, like the start of the year always triggers people for New Year's plans, whether it's your fitness, whether it's your diet, whether it's your money, whether it's buying a house. Like, a lot of people get that, oh, maybe we have a goal to buy a house this year. Well, if you get in touch with a local expert early in the process, they can potentially help you understand exactly how much you can afford. Or maybe, again, like you were mentioning, there are sometimes programs in certain areas, certain countries, certain states, cities, to maybe make it easier for you to afford a home, or certain parts of a city that you might be able to afford a home in that you didn't think of before that way. So as great as the general knowledge is that you can get online, trying to find someone local that can kind of help you, I think, is a huge benefit and a huge resource to see what your options are, because there's a lot of things that in business, in real estate, can be complicated if you're just trying to do your own research the whole time.
So what makes a good broker? I mean, what would the normal person look for in a broker?
Yeah, I mean, I always recommend people should. So, I mean, obviously you want to somewhat test their knowledge. Like, you can find kind of lists of questions of things that they should know about the area that you're looking for. Have they done business in the area that you're looking at? How many years have they been in business? How many deals have they done? Real estate is not a difficult business to get into, but it also has a high burnout rate, because a lot of people who get into it, just like small businesses, it's not hard to start a small business, but to be successful in a small business is a lot more challenging. And so kind of doing some of your research as far as, the expertise of the broker, of the agent, but then also finding a few of them and then actually interviewing them, or going to lunch with them, having coffee, because I feel like I'm a great real estate agent, a great broker, but I'm not the right person for everybody. Even though I could, even though they might fit the area that they want to live in, I might be knowledgeable about. The programs they would need, I might be knowledgeable about. But that doesn't mean that we're going to connect on the perfect level where someone else might connect with them better. So that's another advantage of also starting your process earlier, is you can then really find someone that you connect with, that you communicate well with. And that's another big thing for real estate agents, making sure that they are communicating your needs, because unfortunately too many of them, one, either don't communicate well at all, which is not good when you're trying to spend $500,000 on a home, but also they maybe just don't communicate, certain people connect and communicate better with you and with me than other people. And so if you have similar communication styles, it's going to make it a better process of a broker actually understanding your needs and doing what's best for you, versus you guys not communicating well and then doing something else that they think would be good, but really isn't in your best interest. And so, again, another great reason to try to find that person a little bit earlier in the process, because unfortunately, what too many people do is they start to do a little bit of home shopping online. Then they find the home that they think they really love. And now it's a mad scramble to find whoever can help them that day, that week. And that doesn't always lead to the best person to be able to help them through that stressful process.
Would you advise, I mean, I know it's probably a silly question, but would you advise that people, especially if they're buying a home for the first time, to engage a brokerage to sort of take the headache out of it, or deal with the real estate agency directly?
So in the United States, so it could be a little bit different in Australia, but like in the United States, every agent has to be sponsored by a broker unless you are a broker. So I'm a broker, but if you're a real estate agent, then you have to be sponsored by a broker or brokerage.
Yeah, it's different here. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, but you're usually going to still deal with one kind of specific agent, right? Like you might have, and there probably are Keller Williams. I don't know if they have brokerages there in Australia, but that's a pretty world-renowned brokerage. Or England Brokers, I don't know if they're there as well too. But like they're there as a company, but you're still usually going to deal with one specific agent within the company to handle most of the stuff for you. And so there can be like a brokerage or a company that has a good reputation is important as well too. But probably more important is the specific agent you're working with, and the reputation they have, the knowledge they have, because it's, most brokerages have multiple agents, and there are some that are better than others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can, some can talk the leg off a table, and others really, you wouldn't give them the time of day.
Yeah. And sometimes the ones that can talk really well aren't the best for helping you buy a home and understanding the money finances side of it, right? Like I being in Austin, Texas, we have a lot of tech people here, and so there's a lot of engineers, software developers, those kinds of people, and so they're a lot more numbers oriented. And so being able to, someone with a finance background, with a mortgage background, it's extremely helpful for me to have that ability to talk numbers with them, because they're a little bit more analytical. It's not just about, the social butterfly, which a lot of real estate agents are that, the social butterfly. They can network and connect with a lot of different people, but they might not be able to run some of the numbers and things. And not that one is bad, because you can always get a lender, a mortgage broker, to do the number side of it for you. You can usually, like any business, you can team up with other good people to handle your deficiencies, but you want to make sure that that person has that they aren't just good at talking, but they either can do the number side of things or have contacts that can do that side of things as well.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think, don't jump in with both feet. Do a bit of research first to find the ideal person that can help you. I think doing it on your own sometimes can be quite fraught with danger.
Yeah, I mean, again, right, we get with that technological crowd, we do get a lot of people who kind of want to do it on their own, but in reality, again, most of the smartest people out there use advisors for different things, right? If you're a small business, you're not generally doing your own taxes. You're not generally the person who has himself for a lawyer has a fool for a client, the old saying goes, right? So like there's a lot of different professionals that smart people and wealthy people use as advisors for their area of expertise. And so with a real estate agent broker, I think it's kind of no different, that if you can find a good one, they're generally worth the expense that they have.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I wouldn't do it on my own. I think it's too stressful because a lot of people, you just tell someone what you're looking for and they're going to do all the searching for you and just take you out on a drive now and again and say, well, look, I found these 3 places. Let's go and have a look.
Yeah.
Where, if you try and do it yourself, I know, to me, it's a whole lot of stress you don't need.
And a lot of the stress happens once you find a home and now you're under contract, and now are there repairs that need to get done? Are there, is the financing going to work out? All those kind of things tend to be even where it's more stressful in a lot of cases that way. And so having someone again who can, because like the negotiation with the other party, do you have someone in your corner actually helping fight for those kind of things? So.
Yeah,
again,
because they'd know the questions to ask, where if you're just doing it on your own, you might neglect to ask if the house has got, termites or white ants or if it's had a major crash in it or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Troy, where can people find you if they'd like to work with you or to learn a bit more about you and your business?
Sure. I mean, the best place is probably my website, troyschlicker.com. Happy to connect with people on social media, which is also Troy Schlicker, just about any of the different social platforms, but on the website as well has email information and links to the social profiles as well too.
Absolutely. Excellent. Have you got any words of advice you'd like to share?
For all the small business owners out there, just keep plugging along. Like it's, enjoy the journey is the bigger part rather than the destination when it comes to being a small business owner. You have to love what you do and keep grinding at it, and eventually things will continue to prosper for you.
Oh, I heard that. Troy, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.